We are now going live. And 5, 4, 3, 2, we are there. Let me fix this view. Okay, we are now live, ladies. Welcome so much. Welcome everyone to the Government Coins podcast. This is episode 12, and this is also our final episode of this season. We need a little breaky break between Christmas and New Year's and getting settled in for the new year. And then we'll hop back into season 2. We'll also have some more information about that. But in the meantime, my name is Shakia Kegler. I am one of the hosts of Government Coins. I'm also the founder of Govlier. And I am so excited to have our second guest, our guest here today. But let's go ahead and let my co-host hop in there and do her thing.
Hi, everyone. So I am Chrisley Julian or Chrisley Ganthier, depending on who you talk to. I am the founder of Chrisley G Consulting, which is a human capital firm based on data analytics and its impact on agency performance. Also, I'm the founder of The Black Bunker, which is a strategy hub designed to help minority-owned, Black-owned businesses understand the nuances of government contracting.
And our guest today is Miss Ebony Smith. I'm actually going to let her do an introduction, but I will tell you, she has been someone that I was able to connect with at like a networking event down in Miami. And I would always run into people and say, you need to speak to Ebony. You need to talk to Ebony. And it was so crazy. I was like, I already know Ebony. Like, y'all don't have to tell me to talk. I know Ebony. We cool. Hello. But I'm so excited to have her on board to speak about her experience in government contracting. Tell us about her business as well. Ebony, would you mind telling the people about yourself?
Sure. I'm a corporate refugee. I left the system 6 years ago. I had a really long non-compete. And I'll tell you, when I left the system, the corporate system that they train us all for in public education, I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew that I had a 1-year non-compete, so I couldn't go back to another corporation. So I was at home and I was like, I'm going to use this time to really work on me, do a pivot, mindset shift, not going to travel, not going to do that. I will say yes to every birthday party, bat mitzvah, sweet 16, quinceañera, my baby got a participation ribbon at a swim meet. We having a barbecue. Y'all playing spades? Oh, can I show up for spades? Where's the potato salad coming from?
Spades, always.
Yes. And who made the potato salad? Right? And so I was just accepting any and all invitations to hang out with friends and reconnect with family during that time that I was off. But I also went to coaching school because I realized it was cheaper for me to become a coach than for me to work with a coach for a whole year. And part of the training and coaching school is to transform yourself while you're learning how to transform others. During that time, I got my first client. It was a friend's sister who, I guess she was catching up with her sister, and she was like, Ebony's in coaching school during her year off. And she was like, oh, okay, let me call her. Hey, I need help transitioning. I was like, ma'am, I've been in a month. She goes, it's a month more than me. Month more than me. I don't need you to take me all the way. I just need you to get me out of right now. She got a job 2 weeks later, and I was like, you know what? Then I got another client and then another client. And I was like, looking at the last 90 days of my garden leave, and I realized that if it was either now or never. I went to an entrepreneur conference that's pretty significant in Silicon Valley. And it was all like founders of people that you know. The founder of Uber was there, like everybody's in workout clothes the entire time. It was a couple thousand of us. And you're just sitting around going to conferences, hearing people's stories, asking questions, a lot of like thought-provoking time, having great dinners, and then, listening to Jermaine Dupri DJ. From there, I was like, you know what? They're not that much smarter than me. As Michelle Obama later said in her book, I sat at a lot of tables, and what I realized is a lot of these people are not smarter than me. No. But what they do believe in is taking a chance on themselves. And if there was ever a time, then that was going to be my time. And trust, I didn't know running parts of a Fortune 100 company and being on the revenue generation side is much different than figuring out how you're going to pay your light bill yourself. And so it is no small feat. It is really about saying I'm a risk taker and I'm going to bet on me. In the same way, many of us have bet on ourselves saying we're going to take on these student loans because we know we need a college degree and maybe you're the first person in your family to go to college. I was not. I come from a family with multiple generations that are college degree, but it's in that same vein. Doesn't mean they had money to pay for me to go to college. They were just like, you do need to go though, ma'am. Sign away your name and all your rights. And so I did it. And so just in that same vein, that was the vein that 6 years ago, I decided that I was going to take a chance on me. And so my company is 6 years old. We have been growing year over year. I did not know about government contracting when I started, honestly. But what I will tell you is I always know, I think of life in many ways. And so you can I think of it in the terms of rice. I'm from South Carolina. Carolina Gold is really why they brought us all here as enslaved people, because they needed people that knew how to grow rice. Chrisley, I'm sorry, you did like this. I'm like, did I go too far? It's okay.
No, you're good. You're right. You're on cue. You're good.
And so they brought us here to help them grow rice. Carolina Gold. Watch High on the Hog. Y'all, we need to connect some dots. And so I do this rice analogy. Everything that I know is one serving of rice you get at like a Chinese food restaurant or rice and beans here at the local Latin cafe. Everything that you don't know is the pot that scoop of rice came from. All the things you don't know is every rice paddy in the world, from West Africa to South Carolina to Asia. And I'm in constant pursuit of discovering my next rice paddy. And so it's in that vein, because I'm a seeker of ancient knowledge, but also current knowledge, and figuring out how can I use divergent thinking and lateral thinking to figure out a better plan for myself, that I went to conferences once I was invited. Literally, I went to a fair. A friend asked me if I would do some work at a state agency. And I was like, yeah, sure. Set me up as a vendor, because I was on that vendor list. They had a vendor outreach event. Because I went to the vendor outreach event by myself. Best place to go places is by yourself, because it will force you to talk to people and you don't have other people's doubts holding you back from making connections and conversations. And there was a woman on stage that's here in Miami. And when she said, I literally got my US citizenship so I could become 8A and grow my company to its current size, right? She's a construction company. Her company is at 55 million a year. And she said she got her citizenship. I was like, well, damn, I was born a citizen. Let me dig into this.
What I'm doing?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so what am I doing? I was born a citizen. You ain't got your citizenship for this? Okay, ma'am. Let me get my act together. And so then I started digging in. It is from there, and that dig in, I started figuring out how to get, going to meetings, getting started, and really trying to put myself in places where I can at least have conversations with people or hear them speak so that I could learn more. And that's kind of where I am.
Wow, like that is definitely a journey. I didn't know you were in a transition phase when you started your company. So that's definitely huge. And I think that, what is it called? The non-compete, like holding you off for a full year.
Mhm.
That would have hurt a lot of people, especially, being that
No,
you
it was
would
a
have
good thing.
again.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It was a good thing, but I'm saying, like I was saying, like normally it would have been a barrier,
No, it's
but
not a barrier. It was a good thing. No,
it was definitely a good thing.
it's a good thing.
It's
I've
good.
always had a non-compete period. Chrisley's in
I was
HR.
just gonna
She
say,
knows what that is.
the HR side of me, I'm like, so depending on your time with a company, when you have your non-compete clause in place, most times it comes with a severance package. And thus, what I've seen people do with their severance package, which always leads to a good thing. Actually, everyone that I know, they take that money and they invest it. So you can invest it into your business. Some people decide to purchase property with it. The last gentleman that I knew, he had a non-compete. He decided to go ahead and purchase a multi-unit building. And then he never had to work because he was like, wait, the revenue when I outweigh. So a non-compete most times it is accommodated with a severance. So yeah, it turns out to be a pretty good thing.
Yeah, let's not attach a story to it. If they offer you a non-compete, then
You take it.
You say yes. Yes.
Okay.
We are non-competable. We are non-competable.
I'll take
That's a
it.
good one. But I would
Yes.
say, when did you realize that the government needed leadership training, right? You went to these events, but when did it click for you and you say, okay, this is the service that I provide. I know how to give it to this government.
FPDS.gov.
It's just the bluntness of it all, Ebony. That's just hitting all the marks. For those that don't know what
I'm a greasy talking coach. I should say, people don't hire me because they want me to make them feel good. People hire me because I'm a greasy talking coach. I typically coach majority men. And I tell it to you straight. I'm not the one. I was like, you know why your company hired me? No, because you an asshole. It's in all your feedback, but you an asshole. They've invested too much money in, so they can't let you go. So we're here. I'm here for the transformation. So when I tell you something, this is not a guess. I actually got feedback written. I got receipts. I said, your problem is other people have been sugarcoating your life for you. And I'm not here to sugarcoat your life. I'm here to help you transform your life so that you can go further with what you have. Because if you can't build relationships, you can't be successful.
Ain't that the truth?
That's key, right? So you realize using FPDS, for those that don't know what FPDS.gov is, it is essentially a website where it's like the receipts website. You pretty much can see what the federal government has been spending their money on, with whom. You get the details. I think I use FPDS every single day. I've called primes using FPDS to get their phone number and be like, hey, I see you got this contract. So it is a great tool. But since you do face-to-face training, like how you talked about, how did you like pivot during COVID?
I know I was always on Zoom. Like we started as probably 70% on Zoom. Right. And so, yeah, it wasn't like a pivot, because things are happening over a transformational time period. And so people aren't going to fly me out to be with them every time we need to meet. So we were already on Zoom before the rest of the world was on Zoom. And so, things for us are generally a series, a journey. Transformation takes time. And so that's how I knew. And so had a lot of things set up. Of course, so for some of the government work, I started off for the federal government I subbed for a friend, an amazing SDVOSB. And he was like, hey, do you want some past performance? I was like, in the federal space. I was like, yes. He goes, join this contract with me. And literally he brought me in. He goes, just so you can have past performance. Like we're friends, and he knew I needed some past performance. And so we did it together, and we were going in person to meet with that team, but only because that team was 100% remote team. So they only came in when we were training them. But before that, always on Zoom. It took a while for some people to be able to pivot onto Zoom, but most of the clients have pivoted and enjoyed it.
Wow, that's a really good point. The power of partnerships. Sorry, y'all, this dog just started acting crazy real quick. But the power of partnerships. Did you know them before you got started into government contracting?
No, actually, we were paired by a company we were both paying. And they were like, oh, you two are both starting out in government contracting. Why don't you meet each other and work together? And literally, it was the government shutdown of 2019 that I met him. Like he was on furlough because he was a full-time federal, and then he went and he was leaving right afterwards. He left 2 months later to start his own company. Right. And so he understood how it worked because he's ex-military, and then also an ex-civil servant. And so we kind of went from there.
That's a good point. We talk a lot about networking and building relationships here, literally on every single episode. So anytime I hear it, I like to highlight it, like every single time. And because there are so many different ways to do business with government agencies in terms of different contracting vehicles and things of that nature. One that we specifically want to focus on today is IDIQs, and just helping people understand what an IDIQ is, for, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, just for any reference in terms of name. But if you could give us a little bit of background in terms of what is an IDIQ, and like what has been the experience of trying to go after those type of contracts.
Okay, so for me, as I'm a couple years in, I am not on a federal IDIQ. I have a version of it on a local and state level. But what I would say to you is I do have a couple IDIQs that I know are going to be released in 2024. They're going to
2024.
Yes. And I've been attending the agency's small business meetings, filling out the surveys, sending in my Kate briefings, and they're like, this is going to be an all small IDIQ, and just understanding what an HCAT looks like and why I would want. And so an HCAT is human capital. It's a human capital IDIQ. And so they're going to issue another HCAT all small. And so attending the meetings, ensuring that if they ask for people to fill out surveys or they want somebody on a panel, I'm here, because they've been shaping this IDIQ since last fiscal year for the federal government. And so they told us, like, we think sometime at the end of 2022, potentially 2023, we'll have an idea what it's going to look like. We're going to have more industry meetings going into it so that you can all begin to prepare. Plain and simple. Like, it does take the pre-work before the bid comes out. Looking at agency forecasts, my very first prime contract, I met with them at a matchmaker in March of 2019.
And when were you awarded?
It wasn't even available for another year and a half later, but I met them at a matchmaker in March of 2019. They invited me to their small business day. This is an invite only agency because they're non-FAR. And then from there, and I have an interesting story. I don't know. You guys can tell me if you want me to tell it.
Let us hear it.
So I go to this industry day. It's a non-FAR agency. And so difference between FAR and non-FAR. FAR is federal acquisition and regulations. And if they're funded by the taxpayer dollars, then they publish everything in SAM.gov. Non-FAR agencies do not. You have to treat them like a semi-commercial industry in the sense that you need to reach out to their small business offices, to their OMWEs, that kind of thing. In many ways, sometimes they could act like a hybrid between commercial and between government. And this particular one is a quasi-government agency. And so went to their small business day. Magic Johnson was there. Okay.
That's going to tell you something. Magic be at all of these events, all the national minority events. I see him at every one of these events.
This was like,
he's been at like DOD events from what I've seen too.
There's like 50 people, 50 business owners. We all sitting there in our best pressed, shiny, got my shoes polished, fresh face, everything. Yes, ma'am. Nice to meet y'all. How you doing? Like, I need to get to know this agency, right? Because it was like a matchmaker that I only had 10 minutes to tell them about myself. And I only got 10 minutes because nobody else sat down at this agency's table. Otherwise, it was 90 seconds. Right? So they ended up inviting me. Oh, and then I saw them. I saw them there. I saw them at another local regional conference here in Miami. And then I got the invite for June. So March, April, June, I got the invite. Perfect.
I think that people don't understand the amount of work and labor hours that it takes to actually foster a relationship with an agency.
And all of these were flights and hotels. Flights, none of this is local. Flights and hotels.
Say it again for the people. Ebony, say it again.
Flights and hotels.
And you're not reimbursed. So I had a call with a client.
Reimbursed by my own company?
You not getting you pay for this at shooting for the stars. So I think one of the hardest parts for people to really understand is the investment that it takes and the time. You invest money and time, right?
Yes.
And the money that you invest is paying for the conferences, paying to, stay at the hotels, get the flight. And then the time is, I was telling somebody, I responded to an RFI last year, December. The RFP just came out a week ago, right? And then I saw the same agency put out a notice for similar services that they're awarding to another, prime. And I'm putting two and two together. I'm like, wait, this prime does exactly what I submitted this RFI for. And I want to get on this contract. I'm going to reach out. Like it took a year to even get to the point where you're like, but when that RFI came out, right, it was who can respond. By the time the RFP came out, it was only women-owned small businesses are allowed to respond, right? We're set aside because now only like I responded.
Because the rule of two,
right?
if two of us respond, then it's meant for us. Just
I'm like,
two, you only need
two people. And I know another person that was on top was like, this is us.
This is us.
If
this is very biblical, by the way. I see your t-shirt, and if two or more are gathered, I am among you.
Yes.
Amen.
If two or more are gathered, I am among you. Yes. The rule of two.
My question for you is, what is the hardest part about I see the challenge of getting into the business of government contracting, right? Mm-hmm. The financial investment, the time investment, the level of patience necessary. It is hard. But the biggest thing is, what's the hardest part about staying in business?
Knowing when to take the risk and when you need to bring more people on. Right?
And can you say that one more time? Because
knowing when to take the risk and when to bring more people on. There are, and this is what I'll tell you. And so I knew I needed to travel and spend money because that woman I heard up on stage, she said she traveled for 18 months. Her business partner, and I found a woman who was also looking at the same agencies, but was not a competitor to mine. And she goes, we shared rooms, right? And I've shared many a room in the beginning, right? And so with friends that I've met along the way. And she said it took about 18 months to a year. She goes, but she went into milk and honey season 1 year, which is that fourth quarter of the fiscal year, milk and honey season. And you got a comment.
I like that, milk and honey season. Let me go ahead and put that.
Was pure biblical.
Yes.
Right after crossing the Red Sea, arriving to the land, she said the milk and honey season.
Ooh. Got another biblical reference that got me through the pandemic. I'll bring that in. And I would say I'm not somebody who's I don't proselytize, but I do have deep faith. Mm-hmm. And so deep faith can carry you places that your skills will not. And so what I will say to you is, she said that milk and honey, she didn't call it milk and honey, but that's my term for it. She said that August she had to hire 25 engineers. Wow. She went from 0 to nothing in contract awards because they had to spend the rest of that fiscal year. And she'd been talking to these people. They got to know her company. She subbed for a few people and she got some primes. Right. And she goes, I went from being in my garage with me and my husband and one other friend working for the company. This is an engineering firm, to having to hire 25 engineers in 1 month.
That's insane.
Right.
And we always say one contract can literally change your life.
Yes. And so for me, knowing when, I thought I knew how to search, and I took classes and I had great mentors that taught me how to kind of hack and understand the system. Most of it went over my head. Let's talk about 99% of it went over my head in every class that I went to in the beginning. And you should expect that because you actually have to live it in order to learn it. But I thought I was like, okay, I search every day. I got the criteria. No, I hired a capture pipeline company to build out my capture pipeline this last spring.
For government contracting
specifically? That's all they do. She's looking, they're telling me like this Mac is coming out. You can get on that. this HCAT is coming out. You need to go to this meeting. And literally we have a meeting every week. My pipeline is in a shared document and they add stuff. And every time something comes out in sam.gov, they send me an email and then also add it to the pipeline. And then we meet every Friday and they say, what are you responding to that we put in here? So you need to do this RFI. Hey, by the way, these are other people that you could partner with. We've identified other people that you could go in with and do a teaming agreement or a joint arrangement.
That is the answer to it all. That's the business continuity.
It's the business guide that I didn't have time to do.
Correct.
I can't look, respond, and execute at the same time as a small business. And so I had to decide. And so they were giving me so much stuff that I was like, I need to hire somebody who can write and write well, give them my library of responses, and they can edit and cut and paste. And so that's another change I made this year. And so then literally for me, it became the edit and the final stage of the response, and the pricing is the part that I literally still do. But other people on the team now, like my project manager does the RFI responses now. And she's like, should we respond to this one? I'm like, yeah, kind of take this from this last one, this paragraph from this one, and keep moving it forward. And so just really understanding that pipeline and capture is probably the biggest piece. People think winning is the biggest piece. It doesn't help that if you're seeing it when it's on the street.
Yep. That I think we've talked about that, Ebony, on Clubhouse many times. We're like, by the time you see it on sam.gov, hundreds of hands have already molded it to see what you're seeing. So like now that the RFP is out, if a new business is coming in to respond to it, I've already been talking to this agency since last year, and you're just now about to type up. But I've already talked to Bruce, and I've already talked to such and such, and I've already talked to the other primes, right? So yeah, that building the business continuity, I feel like that's prime time in staying in business, especially from a federal contracting standpoint.
And that's the piece I honestly did not know. Like people, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling shy, I got application anxiety, all the things, all the reasons that you are all who are listening have, I had them too. And then at some point you're going to decide that you need to pay FP&L, Florida Power and Light. And you're going to get over yourself and submit, right?
Yep.
You'll get over yourself and go ahead and submit and talk to somebody and spend time at those matchmakers and do the follow-up. Look, I'll send a note about one workshop that I just developed to a program manager or a contracted officer, not because it's groundbreaking, but it's a reason for me to email you this month.
Hello, remember, I'm still over here on the sidelines. Whenever you get ready,
we here, we ready. Let me know.
Don't forget about me.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a reason. But I also do that in the commercial space for supplier diversity. I'm a diverse supplier. I have certificates, we certified. I'm quadruple certified. And so I remind the folks that, we over here. I saw y'all issued a press release in June of 2020 that y'all supporting Black-owned businesses. I's Black. And I'm
Black.
And I'm in your database. I ain't seen no support.
What a support. Look, what a love at. And it's a song or something.
Yeah. Like give me at least show me the RFP. You don't have to give it to me, but at least let me know this on the street, especially on the commercial side, right?
Yeah, because you can't search for those.
No, let me know that it's on the street and invite me to participate. By the way, you can win business and not win the RFP. You know how many times that's happened to me this year? And I was the cheapest, by the way. The cheapest by like almost 7 figures.
Wow.
Stop.
Didn't get it, but they were like, we enjoyed your response. Couple of things we realized. We should have told you we don't really like, you wrote like a paper. We don't like papers. We like PowerPoint. I was like, did y'all put that in the RFP? This is for commercial.
At all?
No, was not in the RFP. They're like, we realized that was our bad, but we have 2 other projects we can give to you outside this RFP. So we're going to give you a PO right now. Thank you for putting this together. We do want to work with you. And they were referred by one of their primes to me, who was like one of the big consulting agencies. said, oh, this is a small that we work with. You should work with them too. If you want to expand your vendor database. Right. So I was referred by a big prime they trusted, and they've since given me business and like, we have stuff for you in 2022. We now see how you think in the work that you do. So sometimes you can lose and learn. You either win or you learn. By the way, this is something, and I know, let me know if I'm going off run a show, but one of the things I want people to understand is I ask for a debrief even when I win.
Exactly.
Not just when you lose, even when you win. I just got a Prime Award over the summer. And the first thing I asked them was, why'd y'all pick me? Did lots of people apply? They were like, oh, like 20 companies. You're the only one that had an accredited program. Who could tell to tell us a story we believed about how you were going to execute the program for us.
Wow.
I like that, even though I never question it, honestly, like why you pick me. It's a good point because you can use that as your advantage to go after the next one. It doesn't make sense until you hear it from somebody, y'all. I promise. I wouldn't think
like literally, I was like, what part? Because, I took all the classes, white glove, red glove, blue hat, purple hat. I took their classes. And then I made the decision I was going to sort of follow it, but just follow the RFI or the RFP the way it was written and respond in the technical way. And then say, the offer understands, blah, blah, blah. This is what you want. This is our experience with this. This is where we've had great customer satisfaction in the execution of this. This is how we would approach this for you, right? It won them over. And I was under the page limit.
That's a good one. That page limit. I think people don't realize there are definitely page limits in terms of when you can respond, how you respond to these things. And we had someone on the podcast to speak about, writing proposals. So if you missed that episode, definitely go back and listen to it. But she talks exactly, to the point of what you were saying, following that RFP to the exact, word, you know what I'm saying? So definitely a good point to lay out. Two more questions that I want to ask before we end up closing this interview out. And one of them is, how many prime contracts do you have currently? How many subcontracts is actually a 3-part question. So how many subcontracts do you have currently? And that required you to be certified. So it was actually 2, because I wanted to talk about certifications. I always try to throw that in the conversation. Okay. So those 2.
All right. I only got my first prime last December. Actually, last June. I got my state multi-year. And then I got my first federal multi-year a few months later. This year, I've been awarded 3 additional primes. And then, so I'm at 5. No. I have 7, because I have some local, right? And so this is what I'll say. It took relationship building. I met them all at an expo floor. Right?
At where? Expo?
At an expo, like it was like a minority supplier diversity event. It was, so my first prime at the federal level, that's the matchmaker event that I went to. And it was, I'm WeBank certified. It was at a WeBank conference. Right. And then I saw them at 2 more WeBank events, and I went over and said, hi, do you remember me? We talked in blah, blah, blah city. Yeah, of course we remember you. We're inviting you to our small business day. Awesome. I saw other people on the same team. Hey, met Bob at your event at the booth, in Tampa. Wanted to let you know, here we are again in Baltimore together. Wanted to say, come by and say hi. Hope you're doing well. Went to NMSDC conference, saw them again, because it's the same people at the same booths for all the certifications. And so I'll tell you one tip one of my friends said. So I have, I'm an MBE, which is Minority Business Enterprise certified NMSDC. I'm a WBE and a WOSB through the Women's Business Enterprise Network Council. I am certified through my local county as well, and also certified through my county school board. So that happens. I typically only sub for my people in my network because we use each other as subs a lot. And so it's whenever they need me, they'll be like, oh, I put you on. I was like, okay, good, put me on. Right? Put me on. What you need? He's like, I got your course catalog. I got all these things. I'm putting you on here. I just met with so-and-so. Two people in my network are 8As now and just started. And so he's an SDVOSB 8A, right? Some of my clients that are government contractors that I work with are also all of those things as well. EDWOSB, 8A, SDVOSB, HubZone. Yeah, they have all 5. Like one of my clients has all of the set-asides, right? With clearance.
She's just doing the most at this point.
Yeah.
No, but you know what? You're spot on. So like, not until a couple months ago, I mean, I talk about partnership, but not until a couple months ago where literally, actually, let's just say this last week, I subbed under 2 of my mentees on my mentorship program. I was a sub, right? She needed the qualifications, she needed the experience that I had in the medical space, in terms of, with city and state contracts. I had the experience. I threw it on there, and we're going to see. But at the end of the day, building the network where multiple strong companies come together, that's what builds the Lidos. That's what built the Deloitte. That's what built the KPMGs, right? Those are the top ballers in the game when we look at government contracting. So I think it's important that people understand, when you hear people talking about government contracting, huge chunk of it is partnership, networking, relationship building. I've made more money shaking hands and kissing babies than I have sitting behind a computer.
Yes. And so, and it's harder during COVID. We all recognize that. They still having matchmakers though.
Yep.
Still, and by the way, there's some agencies that never stop meeting in person. Those defense agencies, they don't care. Look, Redstone Arsenal is like, you can show your ass up because we're gonna be here in person because we still defend this country in person. And so, all of their events are still in person at Huntsville. By the way, for the people listening, you need to really don't think about, I think there's a Love and Marriage Huntsville. Where all those people are getting their money from is the fact that that's where Army procurement is. And so don't sleep on Huntsville, Alabama. I'm here to tell you, Huntsville, Alabama. Don't sleep on Huntsville, Alabama, where you can find Black women you never heard of. They got a 3,000 person company. You'd be like, what you do? Oh, National 8A conference is in Orlando. You don't need to be 8A to certified to go. Mm-hmm. Ma'am, I went to the first one and I was not 8A. So I'm not an 8A, but I'm here to network. How y'all doing? I can stay at a Gaylord as quick and as easy as anybody else. They will let anybody buy a conference ticket, make a hotel reservation under the room block, go show up and listen to other people's stories. That's where I've gleaned some of my path. I would say, for me, those are the things that I have found to be important. By the way, shocked in my DMs. Oh, I target agencies. I tend to know which 3 agencies I would like to have. And so I'm not responding to everything unless I know that agency gives like 55% of their budget to small business, the Department of Interior. Gosh, look at the Department of Interior, 55% of their budget. A lot of agencies that I'm partnered that are on my initial target list do more than 25% with small business. When they are going above the set aside, then I know they're serious. NRC, there's a bunch of them out there. And so I submit RFIs, I write the white papers. When I say I have an editor that writes with me. I know that I want to join a certain community so I can get behind a certain shield inside government contracting where they have the good, big opportunities, the juicy ones that last for like 10, 20 years. I want to be in that crowd. Shakia is smiling. She knows what I'm talking about.
I want to be there too with you.
Okay.
Us.
I targeted one of the agencies, nobody I had never heard. I was like, what they do? I don't know them. I don't know them. But I'm gonna go to this matchmaker and talk to dude. And I followed up. We did 2 or 3 more meetings. He said, are you willing to sub? I said, I am. He goes, understand that you not having this clearance is not your problem. It's our problem. We can solve that for you. Right. And one of the big dogs just reached out to me. We're going in on a response together. Because they got to meet the set aside targets.
They got to meet the goals. They are required, y'all. All y'all got to do is show up.
Show up. And so he was like, hi, I see that you do this. The agency told me that you're interested in being a sub. I'm 4 meetings in on Zoom with this agency. Just saying hi, touching base. Every time there's a matchmaker, I sign up for them to see me again. Digital. This is all by Zoom. And then they're like, we know that this opportunity is coming out. We're vetting our subs, our small business subs. I've gone through the NDA process right now. And so we're going to work on the response together. One of the big people, the people that when Shakia and when you posted the list of people,
100,
yes,
top 100 federal contractors, they're on there. Page 1, 2, or 3. No, I'm just playing.
Page 2.
And so I asked friends.
Top 20.
I asked friends who are, long in the game. They about to age out of 8A and things like that. So have you worked with this firm at this agency? Yes. And she goes, I will walk you through the things that you should think about when you partner with them. And she goes, be really clear on what you want, what you can provide, and stay in scope for because they will try to drag you into all kinds of scopes. Stay in scope for the things that they brought you in for, and just kind of understanding that. And so that for me has been helpful. It's not an overnight story. It does take perseverance. It does take an investment of time, energy, frustration, learning. But for me, it's a hedge. I came out of risk management and hedging on the trading side of the business. And I knew we would go into a recession because we go into one and going into every presidential election year. And so nobody expected COVID. This is a black swan event. And so the hedge for my business is, what percentage of my company do I always want to have in government contracting so that I know I have some steady mailbox money coming in, right? And some people, this is their business. Like I have a couple friends that I've met along the way. They have 8-figure companies. She only got one agency and she's not even a prime.
She is sub.
Subbing for page 1.
Let me tell y'all, I posted that like 3 days ago. Y'all need to go look at it right now.
Subbing for page 1. Subbing for page 1. Went growing at 500% a year. Because they're not meeting one of the set-asides. She's like, I'm literally the only sub that has 2 of these. And so they're like, we need you to meet our hub zone requirement.
I gotta move my company.
I'm moving mine.
Listen, by today, Ebony, a few primes on that post is gonna get a couple emails like, hey, how are you?
Do y'all know me? I can let you know me.
Guess what certifications I have, and I just got the DBE. We just did put in a solicitation where I think I'm the only prime that has the DBE, and the contract requires DBE, so I am the only one that fulfilled it 100%. And I bought subs that had DBE. I was like, baby, just go on and put me onto this contract.
And we're giving you these examples. I don't want you to think it's that easy. It isn't. Right. But literally sometimes that is the way it is. And I know for one of my local ones, I was in, and join all the cohorts, all the free stuff. But also you're going to need to pay some things, whether it's paying for the airline ticket, the conference, the whatever. This is an investment. It will have a return. But I was
consistent.
Stay consistent. Yeah. I joined a program. I was asked to join a program by one of my local OEO offices around procurement. And I got to meet more people. Sometimes I join programs, not because I don't know what the program is going to do, because I'm not just starting out. I started learning in 2018, but really I'm just there to see if I can find other people I can partner with. So I will attend for 6 weeks for 2 hours a week and smile and listen and don't say anything. Don't be the smartest person in the room. Be the greatest listener in the room and figure out. And so what you just said, Chris Lee, this guy, he goes, hey, by the way, there's only 2 of us on the vendor list that can do this. And the other guy is swamped. And so all those primes, he goes, when I went to the pre-RFP build meeting Literally, I'm the only subcontractor that could help them get it. So everybody had to list me as a sub.
And on that note, Shakia, if you want to just,
I'm sorry, I don't know.
because that snatches souls. Okay.
Yes.
I pray that everybody reaches the land of milk and honey in abundance.
Yes.
Everybody.
Oh, my last quick story, the Joshua report.
Okay.
I promise y'all I'm not super religious, but I was down during COVID. And Felicia Butterfield Jones, I follow her on Instagram. You should have an Instagram just for inspiration. You can have the ones with the stupid TikTok, but you should have an Instagram that you just don't post on, but you're there to follow other people that can inspire you. And that's the one you should doom scroll on. Get off the TikTok one. Only the people that are putting inspiring content in. She was doing all these quick little conversations with people in her network during the lockdown, starting in like March, April. She does them on Fridays. So I heard the same biblical story from her and then from my pastor in a digital church on Sunday. And I was like, oh, I need to know about Joshua and Caleb. And so speaking of the Exodus story, the story of the 12 spies, Moses sent 12 spies out, one from each tribe, and 10 came back and said doom and gloom. 2 came back and said this is the land of milk and honey, Joshua and Caleb. After I heard on Friday night on Felicia's talk, and then I heard it again from my own pastor from the Deuteronomy version on Sunday, I was like, I need a whole new life on Joshua. And I started keeping the Joshua report, because you will get nuggets along the way. It's never going to come as a neon sign. It's always a breadcrumb that you need to follow, pick up, and keep going. You then have to write it down and make it plain, Habakkuk 2:2, so the heralds can read it and understand so that you can connect the dots. And so when you're feeling down, ask yourself, do you have a Joshua report that you and Caleb can share? And that, I would say that's my last one. I'm gonna be quiet now. But
I feel like I'm in service over here today.
I'm gonna pass. Let's all get the collection basket on it. Everybody just pass it. Because
I love that.
You were doing that. That is, I'm actually gonna write that on my wall. That is the necessity. And it's funny, the last sermon that I posted about it on my Instagram. It said, it was my uncle-in-law. He said, dreams are the mountain peak of vision. Claim it to get into the promised land. So definitely, y'all, keep dreaming, but keep planning and being strategic. You got to cross the Red Sea. You got to cross the desert. You got to get through some things in order to get to that real land of milk and honey. So Shakia, why don't you sign us out?
Yeah, this was a good one. We didn't even have time for questions at this point, but thank you so much, Ebony, for stopping in and, sharing some wisdom with us, and also just reminding us to focus. But I love the fact, one thing that, this episode was very focused around spirituality and, tad bit, religion and things like that. So I appreciate that, because it's something that has been, on my mind as well recently. Even with the post, I said, if I could just touch the hem of these companies' garments, like just the hem. But that has been like heavy on my heart recently as well. But, in the meantime, let people know how they can follow you, how they can keep up with your journey. Are you on Instagram, LinkedIn? Let the people know how to get in touch with you. Well,
LinkedIn is probably the best. Ebony Smith Coach is the one. And then my company Instagram is Ebenum Equation Coaching.
And don't worry, y'all.
I post every day.
Okay. I'm going to drop it in the chat, but she posts every single day. Every single day. Mm-hmm. But that's it. Chrisley, you got anything you want to add?
No, I say go be great, y'all. Dream hard, be strategic, and I can't wait to hear everybody's stories and build partnerships, build relationships. That's the key.
Yes. All right. Peace, y'all. We'll see y'all next season. This is the last episode. In the meantime, run these episodes up. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Share it with your mommy, your cousin, your auntie on holiday around Christmas time. Look, let this be their Christmas gift, stepping into a new season. Okay. All right.